All right, 2.3 is about multiplying decimals, and a little bit different rule than adding and subtracting. You don't need to have the decimals lined up. We're going to deal with the decimals later, actually. Basically, what needs to happen is you need to multiply everything normally. Don't even worry about the decimals until the very end, and I'll tell you how we're going to determine like where to put the decimal at the very end. So let's just go ahead and multiply kind of longhand, hopefully we remember how to do. Okay, whoops. So 5, my pen tool out, 5 times 9 is 45, carry the 4. 5 times 1 is 5 plus the 4, right, is 9. 5 times 8 is 40. Okay, so remember you have to add a 0 when you're multiplying. 6 times 9 is 54. 6 times 9 is 54. So we're going to put the 4, carry the 5, get rid of that guy. 6 times 1, and then add the 5 is 11, carry the 1. And 6 times 8 is 48 plus 1, 49. So then we add them up. 5, 13, carry the 1, 2, 9 plus 4 is 13, carry the 1, 5. So now we have this long string of numbers. How do we determine where that decimal goes? Basically what you need to do is, let's go back to the original problem. You need to count how many numbers are behind the decimal place, okay? So in this case, there's one total, I should say. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 total decimals behind the decimals. Now we don't count numbers like zeros at the end of a decimal. So for example, there was like a 0 there, we would not count that, okay? We would not count a 0 here, okay? So ending zeros we don't count as numbers behind the decimal. Now if they're put in the middle somewhere, we would count those. So back to the problem. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers behind the decimal places total. So what you want to do is start at the end of your problem and count and kind of swoop over 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so your final answer, let's kind of clean it up, would be 5.32, 3, 2, 3, 5. So notice there are 4 total decimal places in the problem. There's 4 decimal places in my answer. Multiply it out regularly, worry about the decimal at the end. So let's do this next example. 5 times 6 is 30, so 0, carry the 3. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 3 is 13. 5 times 2 is 10, and 11. So again, we add a 0. 8 times 6, 48, get rid of that guy. 8 times 2, 16, that's going to be 20. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 2 is 18, and we add it up. 0, 11, carry the 1, 2, 9, 1. How many decimal places? Well, there's all these mess here. Well, there's only 2 decimal places behind the 2, and there's none behind that 85. So there's only 2. So that means I'm going to swoop over 1, 2, and put my decimal, 192. Okay, it's good to kind of estimate here to make sure you have the right idea. So if I was looking at this, I would say, okay, roughly 80 times 2, what's that going to be? Well, it's going to be somewhere around over 160. So you can kind of estimate a little bit to make sure you're on the right track, to make sure your decimal's in the right space. Because if we counted our decimals wrong and this happened to be 1,921, that'd be way off, all right? So one little decimal error kind of makes a big difference. Okay. A few more. A little tip. You always want to put the factor, which is a part of the multiplication problem, with less numbers on the bottom. That means you have less rows you have to do, if you've kind of noticed that. Okay. So here we have 3 times 9, 27. 3 times 1 plus 2 is 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 2, 6, 7. Now, I don't need to go and do all these 0, 0, 0, 0, right? It's all going to be 0. It's not going to change my number any, okay? So I'm pretty much done here, right? I could put a row of zeros down there, but it's not going to change anything, so I'm just not going to do that. But I do need to count everything up. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 decimal places. So I'm going to start here, okay? And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I have this empty loop here, okay? What do I do with that? I need to add a 0 in there. So kind of clean up my answer a little bit here. I have 0.07557, okay? So again, total number of decimal places in your problem should match your answer. Okay, here, remember, if you have a decimal, or I'm sorry, a number squished up against a variable, that means multiply. So still working on multiplication here. So I'm going to rewrite this problem based off what I should plug in. Also, remember, if it's squished up against a parentheses, that also means to multiply. So that's what I got. So let's go ahead and set this up. If this was me doing it, I would put the one with less numbers on the bottom. Makes it easier. Okay, less rows to do. And again, remember, they don't need to be lined up. That's only for addition and subtraction. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 2, 12. 15. 6 times 3, 18, plus 1 is 19. Sorry for the sloppiness here. Clean that up for you. Good. Add a 0 when I drop down a row every time. 2 times 6, 12. Man. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties here. Apologize. Alright, so 2 times 6 is 12. I can get it to right here. There we go. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 plus the 1, so that would be 5. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. 2 times 3. And again, let's get that guy out of there because that's not in there anymore. 2 times 3 is 6. So let's add it up. 6, 7, 14, carry the 1, 8. Got into our other problem here. How many total decimal places? 1, 2, 3. Swoop in. 1, 2, and 3. So let's clean that up a little bit. 8.476. Multiply like normal. Add up your decimals. Okay? So do one more, and I'll let you do M and N on your own. Actually, we'll figure that out together. Never mind. 1.7N, remember, squished together, so we're going to have 1.24, because that's what N is, times 1.7. Notice how I put the one with less numbers on the bottom. 7 times 4 is 28. Carry the 2. 7 times 2 is 14. That's plus 2. Carry the 1. 7 times 1, 8. Drop the 0 down. 1 times 4. 1 times 2. 1 times 1. Add them up. 8. 10. Carry the 1. 11. Carry the 1. 2. 2, 1. 0, 8. So how many decimals do I have? 1, 2, 3. 3. There's my decimal. Let's clean it up. 2.108. Man, this computer does not like me today. All right, I want you to do that one on your own. Plugging in 3.26, 1.24. Okay, 3.26. 1.24. See if you can get the answer there. I'll set it up for you. Okay. Okay, so this tapestry, a piece of cloth essentially, created in the late 11th century. It's a rectangle measuring 7 meters by 0.495 meters. Okay, so what's the area? Remember, area is length times width. So we just basically need to multiply those two numbers together. 0.495, whoops, times 70. Notice, number that's smaller, with less digits. I go ahead and put on the bottom. Makes it a little easier. So I have 0 times 0 times 0. Remember, drop down a row, add a 0. 7 times 5 is 35. Carry the 3. 7 times 9 is 63. Plus 7 is going to be 70. 7 times 4 is 28. Plus the 7, 35. Okay. So how many decimals do I have? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So your final answer there of the area is going to be 35.05 meters, and it's area, so it's going to be squared. Okay. So this last problem, same thing. Okay, same thing. You want to take these. I'm going to have you guys set this up here, or I'll set it up. I want you to solve it. 4.3. Okay, 4.3. See if you can go ahead and solve that using some of these other examples. Okay, that concludes multiplying.